When I first saw these woods from PXG, I thought, well, that's a mistake. When I first read up on the brand new 0211 fairway wood and rescue, I was somewhat surprised. And for a lot of you that have read up on them as well, you probably know what I'm going to pick on. Now, if you guys had watched my 0211 driver review, you'll know when I unboxed it that I'd also been sent the fairway and the rescue. And at the time of filming that driver review, I honestly didn't know what to say about them. And even though the driver itself had flaws, downsides, and then obviously upsides as well, in my own opinion, the 0211 driver at the price point it is, the custom fitting options and everything else, I said it's kind of in a league of its own, as well, no other manufacturer gives you that option. Just to give you some context to why I look so confused there, is where I just hit that golf ball. Now PXG have very kindly loaned me this full wood set of 0211 clubs, mainly because it does suit my channel, it does suit the ethos. You don't have to spend an absolute fortune to get good product. That being said, I still have to be honest, I still have to be open, I definitely have to be authentic, and there are a few sticking points with these clubs. That being said, there is one massive bonus which could make one of these clubs an absolute top seller. I was going to talk about the forgiveness and feel aspect throughout this video, but the fact that I only hit probably about 3 dimples of this golf ball and we found a fairway, I'm pretty sure it's fair to say that it is relatively forgiving as a golf club. Skip. Oh, what a bounce. Go on, you beauty. Because I must have been living under a rock, and pretty much have been for the last 2 years, considering I don't work in a pro shop anymore. I don't work in the golf industry, and I don't get to see the prices. And even though I'm very much aware of the brand new driver prices that come out year after year, somehow the fairway and hybrid price market somewhat eluded me. And because I can pick and find so many good secondhand fairway woods and hybrids for around 80 to 100 pounds, something around that mark, I was absolutely, where is that going? That's why you bring a putter out on the golf course. But I was astounded to find out exactly how much a brand new fairway wood cost. When I worked in a shop, a fairway wood was $199, your G400 for example, or your M4 fairway, something around that ballpark, and your hybrid was $169, $179. Very similar to what these are retailing. And the reason I was sitting on the fence right from the get-go is because I looked at them and go, well, they're not cheap, are they? They're still $179 for a fairway, it's still $159 for a hybrid. But then when I look at every other option you potentially could get club fitted for on the market, well, they're almost £100 cheaper than everything else. And what I mean by that isn't that these are cheap and that you should go out and get this straight away. It's just ridiculous how inflated the golf market has got in general. The fact that you're almost having to spend close to £1,000 just on your woods. I'm going to hit one more. Let me tell you why. This isn't going to be the longest fairway wood you've ever hit. To be honest, when it comes to the looks of the rescue in the fairway wood, it's definitely not going to be the best looking either. Even though shiny on the top, that can wear over time. And to be honest, when you put them alongside each other, they do almost look a bit too, well, simple. But even though when I first looked at these, saw the price of each of them, and then looked at the detailed sheet of what you're getting, I think the simplicity of both of these woods could be a breath of fresh air. So therefore, before I go into obviously the big downside of both of these clubs, I've got to ask you guys in the comments down below, would you even contemplate buying a brand new wood in 2022 if it had no adjustability? I'm not even talking about the head, I'm talking about the hosel as well. And the reason the fairway wood stopped me in my tracks is because for the longest time, 6 years, 7 years, the majority of 3-woods that I get to test and try on the market, especially in the upper echelons of 250 pounds, is essentially a second driver. Everything's built for distance, must go further so you can sell more product. And realistically, when it comes to a fairway wood, yes, distance helps, but so does launch and forgiveness. I want distance for you guys, but average distances. I don't just want one 250 bullet that you can only catch once around. You're much better off having 220, 225 consistently off every tee box. And for a lot of you that have already guessed, these are fixed hosel, no adjustable weights in the head, which if you watch the channel you'll know that I obviously like, as the more adjustability in the head, the less forgiveness and the more center of gravity you're actually putting towards that face. But when I saw the price tags of both of these initially, it didn't seem to sit the same as with the driver. 229 for a driver, custom fitted, adjustable hosel, so if you don't get on with the shaft in 6 months, swap it out, plug in another one, off you go. Whereas with these two, even though they are cheaper than everything else pretty much on the market from the big name brands, if you weren't to get on with that shaft, or you weren't to get on with that loft, well, there's not really much you can do about it. Which is why now you know I was very much in two minds about these clubs when I first opened the box that PXG sent me. Yes, they're cheaper than everything else on the market, but they're not cheap compared to what you potentially can pick up second hand. Not to mention they're fixed hosel, so that you can't tinker and play with it. But the more I come to think about that, and the beginner golfer that this is aimed for, to be honest, the tinkering and the changing and the moving of weights, especially as a golf coach, and I've seen over years, probably is more of a detriment as people try and change a degree here and there to fix their golf game. And to be honest, if they spent half the time working on their technique, they'd probably fix the majority of their issues in the first place. Oh, there's those two dimples again. I'm good at duck hooking this, aren't I? Good job it's winter. Just to prove that this thing does actually go straight and it's not heavily draw biased. There we go. Yeah, it works. Look, boys and girls, I do have the ability of finding the center of the club face every now and again. I'm actually baffled both of those shots have finished in the same spot. I know the wind's heavy off the right, slightly into, but I guess that's kind of the point I'm trying to make here. However, let's talk about the real winner out of all of this, and that's the option that you can get a 7-wood in this. Order online tonight, go and get club fitted for it, speak to a PXG technician, and for the price that you can get a 7-wood from them brand new in stock at 179 is actually good value. And the reason I say that is because I am a big fan of 7-woods. A lot of you out there will be interested in getting a 7-wood, and after testing the 3-wood out on the golf course and the launch that I'm getting with this, bearing in mind I've got a 70-gram X-Flex shaft in it, I feel like the 7-wood from this set is the real winner, because these aren't cheap. The rescue isn't cheap. The drive, I think, is good value at the price point it is and everything else that it has. But a 7-wood on the second-hand market in okay condition goes for 100, 120, 130. And realistically, you have no idea what that club's been through, let alone has it got the right shaft? Has it got the right grip? X, Y, and Z. Therefore, when I looked at the fairway options and I looked at the price point, I wasn't really sold right from the get-go, because I can name you tons of old fairway woods for £100. I can name you a ton of old rescues for £90. But trying to find a 7 fairway wood in this forgiving head style with a choice of shaft and grip and potentially a custom fitting on top, and before I give you my final opinion whether you should go and buy these fairway woods and rescues in a minute, I think it's also important, just like I said with the driver video, there will be deals on this in the future. And at the price point they are at the moment, they're a lot cheaper than a lot of stuff out on the market. And if that price was to come down even more, which potentially it will in the future, well, after today's test, especially for some of you, these are going to be good value for money. Overall, it's been quite refreshing to actually hit a club, not necessarily better than anything else out on the market, but something different. And different is definitely welcomed in the game of golf. If you like this review, you might want to check out my 0211 driver review that I did last week. Catch you guys later.